Congratulations, you just won an award for being the best entrepreneur in the United States of America. And it comes with a $10,000 prize and a beautiful trophy to post on your shelf. Give it up, everybody, to you for winning this great and fantastic and magnificent award for... Wait a minute. Did you apply for this award? No, you didn't. Okay, that's fine. You can still win after you pay. Imagine receiving a phone call or an email, being notified that this fantastic institute or internationally recognized organization in your industry has recognized you for outstanding achievement in providing products and services for an award that you've never heard of, you've never applied for, yet you have the best opportunity out of everyone else because you have been nominated, although you never filled out a form, to win this award. And to be a contender, all you have to do is pay a small fee. Now, take another step and you find out that the only way you could properly be nominated and meet the criteria for this award is if you pay the fee first. There may be an interview, maybe an application process, but this falls right in line, at least it sounds it does, with pay to play. What about press coverage? To be seen in some of the top magazines and periodicals, not just in your industry, but in all industries, all business, government, economics, accounting, marketing, sales, pharmaceuticals, and so on. To be featured, all you need to do is pay a small fee. And it's not to be featured under sponsorships or advertisements. It's guaranteed press coverage. This is what's going on right now. And a lot of businesses are feeling really funny about taking advantage of it. But of course, who wouldn't want to be a part and featured, most importantly, featured in one of the most renowned and respected and recognized periodicals in the world? I know you would. I know I would as well. And that's what we're going to really get into today is what's the difference? What's pay to play? What's this trend that we're starting to see? And how do you really generate real earned media? And how do industry leaders feel about this in this growing trend that is going crazy right now? And we're seeing it impact everything from awards and accolades to press coverage to even reviews and testimonials. Let's get into it. What's good, everybody? So really, this topic came up from a couple of things. One of the first ones was we had a question in one of our Quora spaces. And as you know, answering questions on Quora, Reddit, and a few other places where, we connect with other small business owners and entrepreneurs and those who want to understand from the perspective of guys like myself who've been agency owners and freelancers. And the question came up from Marcus Jordan. How much does it cost to pay? That's the one that caught me. Pay for press coverage on tech sites. Now, he mentioned a few tech sites and I was like, man, that's a crazy question. But you're right. I'm starting to see a lot of advertisements for things like that. And that made me wonder, well, how is public relations really working right now? Right? Because although not a seasoned public relations professional myself, and never considered myself to be one, but I definitely work close with quite a few. And I've written press releases and I've written for a few online periodicals. So it made sense to see what's going on. How do the professionals feel about these trends? And what are the trends? We're seeing people being charged for awards. And of course, we're seeing what's going crazy, what generated the question, paying for press coverage. And what is earned media actually? What does that mean? Do you know what that means? And as a business owner, you should know what that means because that's what you should be focusing on when you're not working with a dedicated public relations agency and specialist. And if you are, that's what they are focusing on. So let's keep this in mind. Let's define it first off. Public relations as defined by the Public Relations Society of America, often called the PRSA. They define public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. Now, that sounds very straightforward. Okay. It's all about connecting via communication process. And that communication can come through, different formats, right? Because especially as we see technology changes, communication, social media is a very important factor of communication right now. Look how people use formerly known as Twitter, what they use X for, right? But fundamentally, public relations is about persuasion. Okay, it's convincing an audience either within or beyond the immediate environment to support a specific idea, purchase a product, back a position, even celebrate an achievement. So let's say you're nominated for an award, right? Public relations would still kick in to say, hey, we want to get the people, not just the people who are voting, but the people in general who are impacted, to understand why it's important you were nominated for this award and the potential that you can win this award. And hang on to that award piece, because I brought that up from the top. Hang on to that reward piece for a moment. Frankly, PR professionals are storytellers, right? They craft narratives. It makes sense. Communication. That's what we see on social media. That's what we see on YouTube. Every expert on YouTube will tell you doing what to focus on what? Building, creating stories. Whether it's long form, short form, doesn't matter. Create a narrative. Connect with that audience. Craft it to where it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's insightful, informative, and most importantly, it's targeted. It's something we can relate and connect on, because you don't get to those other factors without crafting a proper story. Some typical tools, right? We see from public relations are, I brought up press releases. I've done press releases for clients. I've written press releases and shared them with, public relations agencies for those clients in the past, whether they be in the music business, music industry, or some other area. And of course, speech writing. That's, I think, the one I hear about public relations a lot more, is dealing with when they're dealing with speeches, or they're dealing with areas, maybe even an aspect of risk management to an extent, or crisis relationships, if you will. Writing pitches. Now, this is where a public relations team, this is a tool where that can be extremely important from the perspective of a small business or even a startup, right? Because if you're doing a pitch and you're trying to connect with the right people, public relation teams have those relationships. That's literally what they're there to do, is they're kind of bridging those gaps, right? Between making sure it's a crafted, well-informed communication to an audience, that public, but that audience could also be another corporation. That audience can be investors. That audience could be a body, right, of organizations and of trade groups that you want to connect with, but you don't have those relationships and they do. See, public relations act as that agent, that go-between, because you just started your business. You're starting in manufacturing. You're creating new technology. You don't know everybody to talk to necessarily right off the bat. This is where a business plan can come in handy, because in your business plan research, you can add that information. You can say, hey, these are the people I need to talk to. But I know I don't have relationships with all these people. Who does? And that's where that agency comes into play. See, we're talking about more organic, and we're definitely speaking of when it comes to not just earned media, but just building relationships. We're not talking about that guaranteed. And we're going to get into that guaranteed in a minute, because that's the trend that's really growing. A couple other tools, public relations will do that market research for you, including writing the blogs and articles. And this is what I'm talking about, the new trends. Because what they do is they're grinding, contacting, reaching out, talking to people on your behalf, collecting reviews, pulling in data to see what works, what doesn't work, responses, maybe even responding to people from your social media profiles or your Google profile or your website even, or developing the chat bot, right? In some aspects, developing the chat bot to connect with the public. But the trend we're seeing doesn't play into that. That's public relations. The trend we're seeing is veering towards that pay to play. Now, I'm using that term because that was a term that was used many years ago, still used here and there, but definitely some years ago within the music industry. And I remember hearing it all the time. And I worked with independent artists. Let me tell you, that kind of stuff popped up all the time. If you want certain things to get done for you, you have to grease the right hands. You have to take care of the right people. And it was never a practice you wanted to be a part of because it put you in such a bad position. And unfortunately, we're starting to see that big time, especially as we see the growth in startups and small businesses that want to get coverage, that want to get attention, especially attention on social media. And they don't have the time and dedication, or they don't feel they have the time and dedication to either work with a dedicated social media analyst. They can't afford working with a public relations agency or professional, or they just can't manage it themselves. Multiple awards are coming up, and it's hitting every single industry. We're seeing awards, everything from, and I hate to say this, podcast to ebooks, and of course, startups being hit with all of these awards where it just so happens the winner is only the winner if they make some purchases. Now, the purchase doesn't have to be something as overt and just blatant as, hey, if you pay a judge or anything like that. And I'm not speaking of anything to that point. What I'm saying is the more covert way of going about it. Well, you have to pay this administration fee, but an award, once again, that you never even applied for. And if they do make you go through an application and criteria and a process, it's something as simple as, what industry are you in? Or, hey, do you operate in this country, or do you operate for this many years? Now you meet the criteria, and now you can be considered for this award. Does that even sound like it's something you want to be a part of? Because frankly, that means anybody in my country, anybody in my industry, and anybody who's been in business as long as I have is nominated, is a contender. So how do we determine the winner? And that's what we're starting to see, where the winners are not necessarily, and that's what we're starting to see. We're determining the winners is not necessarily based on an actual accomplishment or achievement, a real rubric or hard criteria based on feedback from customers or vendors. No, it's based on, did you pay? Did you pay to be nominated? No. But did you pay to win? Maybe. Now, there are some that look at award entry fees that usually takes care of the administration fee. For instance, if someone's saying you have to pay $50 for a fee, or $200, $300, maybe even $500 for a fee for an administration fee. Okay, that's to an extent understandable. Although, once again, what is the criteria before I even get charged this fee? You see, the determining factor, if I can even be charged to be in contention, is where the pay to play comes in. And that's the concern that a lot of people are starting to bring up. For instance, let's take a comparison of the Olympics. Now, think about countries like the United States or the UK or France, where they send all of these athletes. And it's often talked about how they can send an athlete for pretty much every single event, every single athletic competition can have a participant from one of those countries. And there are quite a few others that fit into that, but those are three of the biggest. And then we see countries like maybe a Nepal, right? Smaller, maybe only competing in 2 or 3. Is it because of the facilities? Is it because of resources in their country? Well, of course, that does play a critical role, but there's also aspects of budget. Can they afford to even send the athletes, let alone just train them and develop them in their own countries? And this is why we see a lot of countries send their athletes to other nations to train and to perform and to prepare and to develop. This is also for them to compete against people who have more experience, or at least a country that has more experience and more facilities and resources to devote to that sport. But on the flip side, if you're a business, well, what's the determining factor? If we have the exact same resources, if we have the exact same years in business, if we're in the exact same industry, there are no preliminary competitions. And that's where we get into the only way you can compete is by purchasing or paying. There are quite a few thoughts about this. On one angle, we see a lot of people taking the stance of, well, nothing is truly free, and we are in a capitalist society, which is true. That is the reality of the world we live in. And we are speaking of commerce. We are speaking of businesses, first of all. So if I pay an administration fee for an award, that should be fine. I'm going to be judged. There's going to be a hard criteria that I need to meet. And if I don't meet that criteria, if I'm not determined to be the winner by the judges after paying that administration fee like everyone else, then I don't win the award. Okay, that's the award side. What about the media coverage? Because this is what's starting to make more people's heads turn and bring up a lot of concerns. People see this as extremely dangerous, and it does fall into a pay-to-play industry. One public relations agency calls out as an example of pay-to-play publication is a proposition from a magazine trying to get the writer to become part of their publication. And they're not mentioning necessarily the amount of money up front, but their goal is to completely hook on the very first communication. And the idea here is to immediately reach out, connect with the business owner, maybe even a public relations professional or a journalist directly, and guarantee coverage. In other words, press releases, maybe even social media coverage, but for sure, social media coverage, boosting on platforms, and an article or two on a highly trafficked go-to blog or go-to media source in digital platform. Typically, this would fall under sponsored or paid media. And we've seen these type of sponsored posts all the time. They usually rise to the top of any online publication, whether it's a blog, it's a webzine, and that's fine. We're prepared for those. We are used to those as consumers, as the public. But when we see a blog article covering a new business that we've never heard of, and it doesn't say sponsored, it doesn't say advertised, but on the back end, that business, or that, unfortunately, the representation for that business has purchased that space, but we are not notified that it's an advertisement. We think as a public, as a consumer, as even a potential vendor or investor or partner, that the notoriety and the level of excellence of this business has risen to where they should be featured, not just once, twice, but potentially multi-touch marketing, where we're seeing them all over the place. And I can tell you, from a web developer standpoint, on the digital marketing side, when I start examining and reviewing websites and I see, we're featured in all of these publications, and I'm thinking, I have never heard of this business. I don't know where they came from. And yet they're getting coverage from some of the biggest publications in not just our industry, but in every industry. It makes you wonder. It makes you start to question all media coverage at that point. And that is a failure. That is a failure on so many different levels. Number one, on the industry, because you're not properly and fully informing, which kind of goes against the communication aspects of public relations, at least in my personal and professional opinion. And the second most important level is the distrust of the public when they're making purchasing decisions, when they're making business decisions in a brand's level of notoriety and achievement. When we come back, we will go over what is earned media. So what is earned media exactly? So earned media really comes down to what others say about you as invaluable, convincing, and authentic. And this is where that public relations, that marketing specialist, that area that they can really get into and assist in crafting a narrative, consistent, concise line of communication and message to your target audience. It will help you generate leads. It will also save you money on advertising. One of the key areas I see earned media working in the digital marketing realm is still with SEO, it's still with search engine optimization. Because what it does is it allows you to leverage your conversations, your interactions, your recommendations, your reviews, your testimonials, and build on the relationships you've already established as a business and further them from the professional standpoint from that public relations professional, and working with them and bridging those gaps with other potential vendors, investors, and bridging that gap with all the publications that they may know, or at least the media outlets. And using that in lieu of advertising. Advertising would be a supplement to that, or be a companion. So yes, maybe some paid ads, sponsored post, but that wouldn't be an underlying, hey, you had to pay to get this coverage. Another key area is it establishes trust. And that's what earned media is really all about. It's consumer-driven reviews. Basically, look at it like this. Earned media is when you are doing what you normally do as a business. You're taking and getting that feedback from those customers, and you're building and you're improving and you're optimizing that business. You're getting more feedback, but then you're also sharing people's experiences, and people are openly sharing those experiences as well. Also, look at user-generated content as an area of earned media, right? Not something you paid for. If a person goes up, man, I love this product that I just purchased. I love this service that I just received. And I'm sharing it with my friends just because I want to talk about it. I had a great time. I had shopping experience. The best earned media are the ones we're seeing where people are just taking pictures of their food. We all love it. I love it. I'm a foodie. I take pictures of all my food. And you know what? I make sure to post that. Tag the restaurant. I'm not compensated for it. I ain't looking for no checks right now. Not right now. No, I'm joking. I'm not looking for any checks or anything like that. I'm just sharing my experience and what I loved about the plate of food or the cup of coffee that I recently had. That's what earned media is all about. And of course, your PR team or your PR professional, even your digital marketing professional, is making sure this is running like a well-oiled machine. And they should run hand in hand. A long-term earned media and a long-term paid, sponsored, advertised media campaign. They should work in tandem. That way you get that nice 360 marketing going through every platform. It's omni-channel at this level. But it's clearly understood that you have provided such a great level of service, or you've provided such a phenomenal experience to the customer that they want to talk about you. They want to share everything that they've had and the experience that they've had with your products and services. And you have a professional who's building on that and taking it to help you facilitate more deals and more opportunities and grow. That's earned media. So what are some steps that a public relations team or public relations professional, or you yourself, can do it to build out an earned media plan? Well, number one, leverage social media. Can't go wrong with this. I brought it up multiple times and it won't go away. Social media is actually a even better reason that we don't need to do any kind of pay for play, because we want coverage, we want attention, but keep in mind that just because you're getting awareness and just because you're getting traffic, it doesn't mean it's all converting. So if you're paying for press coverage and you're paying for spots here and there on major publications online, why aren't you just working in building out advertisements? Why aren't you just working in building out a relationship with a public relations specialist to get you the coverage you deserve, both on social and off? But social media is one of the first places for you to get earned media on your own and leverage it to where you don't have to focus so much on just working with one publication or just advertisement, but you can build out your own 360 plan. The next one is content marketing, which of course starts off with social media, but it comes right back to the nexus and the cornerstone of your website. The next is content marketing. And content marketing starts off with social media, but it always comes back to the nexus and the cornerstone of your business, which is your website. If you want press coverage, well, one of the first places that you're going to send them to is your website, not just your social media, because they want to know who you are and what you do. And of course, this is the place where all of your customers, your vendors, your partners should be coming to as well, because this is the only platform you fully control on the internet. You can't control Instagram. You can't control Facebook. You might not even have a TikTok anymore, depending upon when we're airing this, right? So think about it. If you push out blog posts to tell people what you do, why you do it, who you help, you have a controlling place where you can upload your testimonials, showcase your reviews, share user-generated content of people's experiences, share information about what you do and your expertise in white papers, infographics, and one of my personal favorites, video articles. So whether it's a case study, it's a review, it's a testimonial, it's a walk through your facility, you can have multi-touch marketing all coming back to your website and then reproduce that information on your own social media platforms, but then also connecting with other network partners and build out that communication. Leverage the number 2 search engine in the world, YouTube, for all of these pieces of content. The third area to build earned media is email outreach. Building relationships with local journalists. Building relationships with local press is going to be critical. And these are the people on the ground that the PR people will be working with anyway. So if you already have an established relationship with them and make your PR person, your marketing person, it'll make their lives a lot easier. I'm speaking to you, the business owner. Next up is email marketing. Now, the best thing about email marketing is you could build out an entire segment of your email marketing list with journalists and local press influencers. And this will be incredibly important for any small business, because this will make your life, if you do hire a public relations specialist or marketing specialist for your team, this will make their life a lot easier in the long run. Number 1, connect with local press, newspapers, periodicals, especially those that focus on your trade. Almost every major city in America has at least one trade publication for a large industry, whether that be advertising, marketing, medical, legal. Connect with the people who do the articles for those platforms. And most likely they have a blog nowadays, so it's pretty easy to get in contact with their editorial staff. And the other, as I brought up, press influencers. Now, a press influencer, that could be somebody who has a social media page that the press goes to and connects with a lot. You should connect with those people too, because those are media influencers. Those are people who are out there connecting with audiences, kind of bridging that gap in that public relations angle. This, once again, will make the life of any professional working with you way easier, but also as the business owner, I'm speaking to the business owner, this will leverage your email marketing tenfold, because then you can showcase the email marketing as another channel to get the message out, control the message, and build relationships. Number 4, public speaking. A lot of business owners are finally getting into public speaking. Now, I'm a part of one of the best organizations in the world to help you on your speaking skills, and that is Toastmasters. That's a great way to become a better public speaker, but most importantly, just to be more confident in speaking about your business in general. And it has a network of other public speakers and a network of professional speakers. Bring this up because this is the one area where finally more business owners are leaning into it. And now that we have so much going online, you can speak to a public that's not just within your region, not just in your neighborhood. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And I know that can be a little scary and intimidating at first. That's why it's important to join a good organization and be a part of a good network, which leads into the 5th area, networking. It's important to be a part of a network, whether they're other professionals, they're seasoned, they understand how things work, the do's and the don'ts, and most importantly, they can connect you with others, whether that be in public relations, marketing, potential vendors, partners, even customers. So build out your network and leverage those relationships. You have now put yourself in a position of a public relations specialist, at least to an extent. I'm not trying to offend nobody, but at least to an extent, right? Here's one of the things about social media. There's so many ways to connect. Go live, a day in the life, showcase what you do, show off the location, have an event, connect with your audience, because that is what PR is all about. So if you're wondering when people start contacting you about awards and wondering if people start contacting you about press, Well, here's why. Here's why they should contact you. You build your own press pipeline. So when you do reach out to your local newspaper, when you do reach out to the trade publications, you can tell them this is what we've accomplished and this is what we've done. But if you're making the right amount of noise, they're reaching out to you. Local media interviews and online communities. Local communities, especially when it comes to online communities, you have Nextdoor, you have Facebook groups, you have Quora, you have Reddit. There's too many places for people to connect online. And if you're more tech savvy, places like Discord have become a major playground for local communities to connect. And of course, local media interviews. I always suggest this. Connect with at least 3 to 5 bloggers in your industry. The more local, the more, regional, even better. Because they know exactly what's impacting your area. But at the very least, have 3 bloggers that you can connect with and you can share information with. The funny thing about that is when it comes to bloggers, it doesn't have to be a blogger that just works with the press or that is a part of the press or is a contributor of publications and periodicals. It could just be another blogger that's a professional in your industry. In other words, your network. There's about 20 bloggers that I know within the marketing, specifically SEO and digital marketing, that I always reach out to and connect with. It's a great way to find out about what's happening in your industry, but it's also a great way to get the word out about what you're doing amongst people who are tastemakers and influencers. And finally, you bring all that together to create a media kit. Now, the media kit can be anything. I remember back in the day, I used to make EPKs. Yes, y'all. Electronic press kits. I know my music people. I know my band managers. I know my booking agents. I know my public relations people. Y'all look like, wow. I remember when the EPK was such a fancy and unique thing, right? Well, I've been doing it for a good minute. Okay. I've made press kits from everything from Microsoft Publisher, PowerPoint. Yes, I used Microsoft Publisher. Hey, I was just getting started. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you. I spent more than enough on Microsoft. I couldn't afford everything. I'm about to go on an Adobe tangent. Don't get me started. The point is that you bring all those pieces together. You created your own media buzz to where you can go out and you can shop yourself around and pitch yourself. I say, hey, take at least 1, maybe 2 days at the most every month. After you go over your finances, boom, take care of this. Yes, you should be looking at your finances on a regular basis at the least every month, right? Not every quarter, at the least every month. And your press and your marketing is no different. So the day that now this is me wishful thinking, y'all. The day that you look over your SEO analytics, you see the performance of your website. Yeah, I know you're probably saying, Ehren, I don't do none of that stuff. And I ain't got time to do none of that stuff. This is why you bring in a digital marketing professional or a PR professional, right? Because they're looking at these things for you. Everything from your analytics of your website, your recommendations, your referrals, your reviews, collecting them all and putting them into that press kit template and building out that press kit for you and sharing that out to the world. And specifically that network and say, hey guys, this is the new stuff we got that just came up. If you're not following us, that's fine. And you know what the easiest way to get the word out on a consistent basis and not have to do something so bulky? Email marketing campaigns. Because then you have the content there all the time. And it's just feeding that press kit. So with that, when we come back, we'll go into the book of the episode and the little takeaways you can put into your own marketing plan. Give yourself a SMART goal. Give yourself a timeline to create this packet for yourself. And then what's the next step? Do I go out and get a PR professional? Do I go out and work with an all-around marketing agency or all-around marketing specialist for my team? Maybe somebody who can handle my social media and my relationships with journalists and periodicals so that I get real earned media and build a trust from those that I need to have that trust with the most, my vendors, my partners, my potential investors, and most of all, of course, my customers. When we come back, we'll go over the book of the episode and what you can take away from that. Okay, what's good, everybody? So we went through what is earned media. And we also talked about this growing trend and we saw it as a problem, but we don't want to focus on the negative. We want to focus on what can we do as business owners, as small business owners, as freelancers, as entrepreneurs, people who have that venture that we want to get the word out, but we want to do it ethically and we want to do it where we win people's trust and we keep their trust. So, great book recommendation came through from our team member, Free PR, How to Get Chased by the Press Without Hiring a PR Firm. Now, brought it up that some of us may be in a position where we can't hire that PR professional right off the bat. We can't hire that marketing specialist. We can't, go out and bring in the biggest and the top agency to get us the attention and the traffic that we deserve. So what do we have to do? We have to do for self. It's what we do. It's all good. That's what being an entrepreneur and small business owner is all about, y'all. Public relations has always been a critical part of business. And Cameron Herold and his team that put this book together has put together a great set of steps similar to what I just gave you a little bit earlier, but they get a lot more in depth as PR professionals. They get a lot more in depth about how to build out every single activity and far more activities that fit your business, because that's the key. That's why I'm talking about paid press and paid coverage. They don't necessarily know you. You get offered an award and they've never heard of you. Or yeah, they heard of you. They heard that you have a business, you have an email address, you may have some money, so they contact you and try to get it. No, we're not doing that, because you want to look like the best business possible in front of that consumer. And what better way than showing them, hey, this is what I've done. I was told this way early, and I mean super early, when I first started, not even going into business myself, my very first job. You know what the best form of sales, you know what the best form of marketing is? The endorsement and the word of mouth of a satisfied customer. Nothing can beat that. That's why to this day, word of mouth is still king. That's why people try to leverage social media so much. And that's what you should do the same. Cameron does a great job in this book, going into exactly what are the ins and outs, right? If you don't have the in-house PR team, what are the ins and outs that you can do for yourself? And you can get interviews. You can build out free media coverage, build out an entire portfolio of coverage to showcase. And this will actually help you when you're trying to pursue investors, right? When you're trying to showcase, hey, this is what we're projecting the company is going to look like. This is the kind of coverage we've received. People are talking about us. People want to be involved with us. People want to connect with us. So we can make good on these investments. See, I know some people don't look at it like that, but that's one of the most important areas you should be looking at it, is not just investors, of course, and customers, but investors look at things like this. Who's talking about your business? Who's trying to connect with you? Who are you getting traction from? Because if you're not getting traction, who's to say you can make good on that investment? So Cameron has built in-house PR teams. So you're learning, like I said, from an actual seasoned professional, but you're learning from a professional in the standpoint who's done it as a small business owner themselves, which is invaluable information. Check out, there's a link in the description of this episode, Free PR, How to Get Chased by the Press Without Hiring a PR Firm. Fantastic recommendation. Thanks to our team members here who are helping out the show, helping to grow and helping to connect with small business owners. And of course, as always, I owe you something. So I brought up a little earlier. Yes, I've made press kits in the past. Lord, don't take me down that road. But I'll tell you this right now. Number one, a press kit can be almost anything. From a person who's built quite a few of them, it can be almost anything, right? It can be a YouTube channel. It can be a PowerPoint deck. It can be an entire website. I've built all three. I've made all three. So what we have for you is we have a template for you to build out your press kit pieces and to start putting it together. I've brought up one of my favorite features of Canva before, and that is the talking presentation. The talking presentation is one of the best tools that Canva ever created, and they keep coming up with new features and new ways to innovate it and build on it. I absolutely love that feature. And what we have is a template for you to have a talking presentation press kit. Now, check out the template, make it your own. The link is in the description. It's free for you. Taking elements of effective and productive. Okay, when I say productive, I mean they produce some cash. Press kits that I've used in the past, just converted it, brought it over to a talking presentation for you. Let me know what you think. Customize and make it your own. In a past episode, I brought up that we were going to do a talking presentation. We're still going to have that event. It's coming up. And I would love to see the press kits that you've created, or maybe just a talking presentation of the deck that you've created, right? We can talk about it in that section. We can do a little Q&A, maybe even do a review as well. But check out that template. It's in the description of this episode. Utilize it, leverage it. And hey, even if you don't immediately start going out and using it for yourself, you could take the same press kit, or at least that customized template, and propose it to a marketing specialist, propose it to a PR group to work with you. Because there's some great professionals out here who are looking to help small businesses, help entrepreneurs to get the most. And once again, focus on building relationships. I'll also put in a link in the description to Toastmasters, because you need a network. You need to join a group of professionals that work with you. And really, it helps to build your confidence. I'm only endorsing Toastmasters because I have seen the benefits of being a member of Toastmasters for the past few years. And I would love to see you guys be a part of it as well. Best to you and yours. Thank you for joining me today on the Ambition Show. This is paying for press and awards. Do we really want to be a part of that? No, we want to go out there and get that earned media. And I really appreciate you guys joining us and all of our guests. Thank you so much. Best to you. And let me see those talking presentations soon, and links to them very soon in our upcoming Canva live event. Peace.